His first experience comes from his own familial background, and I think you can almost not overemphasize the importance of his mother and his father and their marriage as shaping influences on Peckinpah's work. I mean, it was a very, very troubled marriage. His mother was quite a depressed individual who was nevertheless very powerful. And she was also very, very moralistic, very puritanical. A Christian Scientist, as a matter of fact. His father was a judge, and it comes from a whole family of judges, lawyers, and all of that. So you can see what kind of tensions you're going to have in here right off the bat. The sources of the violence in him, I think a lot of it probably did come from just simply growing up with a father who was rather a control freak and had a very volatile temper. I think Sam was also keenly sensitive to, you know, the sort of troubled psychological and romantic, for want of a better term, amorous relationship between his parents. And a lot of this conflictedness finds itself in his work. I mean, he himself was fond of saying, I grew up in a family where everybody talked about truth, justice, and law and order around a Bible that was very, very big. I saw The Wild Bunch, which is generally regarded as his greatest film, and I think rightfully so. I saw The Wild Bunch for the first time in 1969. I was just getting out of college, and I felt as Emily Dickinson said. She once said that you know you're in the presence of poetry when you feel the top of your head coming off.
They called him the Wild Bunch. Pike had been a gentleman of principle.
It's kind of an irony when it first came out, because in America, after the first week, the studio cut several scenes from the movie, basically because they thought by getting a shorter movie, you could get more showings in during the day and they would make a bit more money. Overseas, in Europe, you always had a longer and more complete, essentially the director's cut of The Wild Bunch, than you ever had in the States. And interestingly enough, what was taken out of the scenes in the American version was not the action material, it was the lyrical material. Sam used to say, you know, my films are intricately constructed. If you pull out something here, something 15 pages later falls away too. And you have to be very careful how you do that. And he himself, by the way, was a master editor. You rarely will ever find a Peckinpah movie that is too long. In fact, he anticipated a more modern, a more contemporary style of cutting long before it became fashionable. These days, I would say almost too fashionable, but that wasn't his fault.